Hello, this is the Tag Contributor Strategy Mentoring Working Group meeting. Is an official CNCF meeting, which follows the CNCF Code of Conduct, which I like to paraphrase, be excellent to each other. Now, right now, it's just you and me, Josh, but we say it for for posterity and so that folks who might be watching later on YouTube and whatnot. There are actually normally with as few folks as we have, I might consider canceling this meeting, but I do have something I'd like to chat with you about, Josh, because there's an idea of proof of work that I'd like to chat with you about. But before we do that, real quick, term 2 for LFX mentorship is ending in about 2 weeks. So mentors and mentees should be thinking about how to finish up and get blog posts written up and all that sort of jazz. Term 3 applications are now closed. So mentors and maintainers are currently making their candidate selections. And it seems like everybody has actually got access to the platform, which is at this stage kind of a rare thing, because it normally we have to there's usually 1 or 2 new projects that haven't done it before and haven't got things set up. But there's a lot of veteran mentors this time around. So
now I know the LFX team has been addressing a lot of longstanding bugs in the other applications. Have they started tackling the mentoring app yet?
There's a couple of there are bugs that are actively being worked on, and as I'm running into things, I'm bringing it up with them, opening tickets, and things are getting solved and sorted. So I don't think we're at the point where we're doing some of the new features that we had discussed, but we are still at the sort of the stabilizing the platform stage.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, to do it well, they'll need to start over with a new app.
I would
like if I was running it as a project, I would just try to close the most debilitating bugs in the existing platform and then start a project to do a replacement platform.
Something you know what I might do? It might be good to invite one of the project managers to join us maybe next month. And just to have a sort of discussion about what the roadmap looks like. So
well, and particularly they need to start from a list of requirements of what we actually need for mentoring, because like the existing platform was designed for subcontractors, not for mentees, and basically never took on any requirements for mentoring. It was basically, how can we turn this contractor platform into a mentoring platform with a minimum amount of effort? Not what does a mentoring platform need? And now we have a team that is actually capable of delivering on a spec, and it would be good for them to have a spec to deliver on.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, and we've had those discussions, and this is what I'm saying. I can't make any promises on what other folks will or won't do, but I can definitely have a discussion with them and say, hey, would you like to meet the community and have a discussion with some of the folks about some of the changes that you're planning. So I'll put that forward. They may not think that it may be too soon for them to do that at this point, but
they have a long list.
They really do.
Yep, we have somebody new who joined us.
Yeah, I was just going to say hello.
Hello, Vaisal, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and if I'm not, please let me know how to pronounce your name.
Hello, it's correct. I'm just hanging around. I was trying to understand the point of the meeting. I'm just listening right now. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the CNCF Mentoring Working Group meeting. It's the meeting where we discuss the administration of mentoring programs and how to get projects involved in mentoring programs, and how to improve outcomes of mentoring programs and all of those other things. Basically for running all the mentoring programs across CNCF projects.
Thank you. I've been looking opportunities to be participant, contributor on the several projects. So I will
Yeah.
follow the documentations right after the meetings.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is more about the design and operation of the programs that you might be a mentee in.
Yeah.
If you follow me.
Mhm.
Although some of them be relevant for you, we actually didn't have, say, Clotributor on
Yeah.
the agenda today, but Clotributor is definitely both under mentoring and contributor growth. Because and at some point we need to probably more in contributor growth discuss, hey, let's circle back and try to get projects to use Clotributor more effectively. Because I think most of our projects still don't know that Clotributor even exists.
Yes, exactly.
Which is a shame because new contributors are discovering it. So so it would be nice. But I think we can have that on the agenda for contributor growth, which is because Clotributor is intersectional.
Yeah, which screen is this, by the way? I'm seeing OpenTelemetry. I've been working on OpenTelemetry for a couple
Yeah.
of.
So
Yeah.
Do you want to explain Clotributor, Nate?
Yeah, so Clotributor is a search engine of sorts that lists out anytime you see a help wanted tag or good first issue, this system will pull that in for issue. So again, so the OpenTelemetry here, if we open this up, this is the link. You can see it's help wanted here, and it's a relatively recent 20 minutes, 30 minutes old. So if an issue in the CNCF ecosystem has got the help wanted tag and is fresh, then Clotributor will pick it up and say, oh, here are a list of individual issues that our projects are looking for help on. And so if you're interested in, let's say, etcd, or if you're interested in documentation, you can search based on what you're interested in and all the projects that are looking for help with specific things. So that's what Clotributor is. And then on their splash page, they just list the latest things that have popped up. So like I said, this issue here is literally a half hour old. So if you're looking for fresh issues, that's a good way of going in.
Yeah, that's very valuable information. I've been looking opportunities to deep dive in some projects, but I didn't know how to do it. But right now I have an address to take a look at least.
Yeah, it's a great tool, and we're trying to make sure that every project is getting crawled for this. Right now, most of them are, but as we're adding new projects to the CNCF, we're also trying to make sure that these tools get updated as well, so that we're capturing all of the new stuff as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So then, you're welcome to stay and chat and participate here. But I think probably we want to move on with our agenda. And one of the things that, and this is maybe a bit of a touchy subject, historically, and part of this I don't want to change. If a maintainer or a mentor says this person has not provided sufficient work or work that is insufficient for a passing grade, we would not, as administrators, as the CNCF, we would never override that decision. And the opposite is true. If a maintainer or a mentor says this person has provided sufficient work for to pass the evaluation or get their stipend, we wouldn't override that. And part of that is our need to maintain the trust of maintainers, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can phrase that better. We need for this program to work, the mentors and maintainers to trust that we will do what
Yeah.
they say.
I'm more worried about the first case than the second, right? Like, because the worst that happens with mentors who are slacking and give somebody a passing grade, even though they didn't do anything meaningful, is that somebody gets a nice stipend for having been peripherally involved with a project for 8 weeks, right? We had the money allocated anyway. Great for them. I always have concerns about mentors because, like, here's the particular problem that I see happening recurrently in this. Like, I don't have a specific occasion where this happens in LFX, or I would have called it out to you already, right? But in general, and particularly I had this happen in GSOC a number of times.
Right.
The mentor does not provide enough mentorship for the mentee
And that's
to do their project effectively. And then the mentor fails them.
right.
And that's why I always want to have some scrutiny on the failing people, rather than the passing people.
Right, and the passing of people. So you're absolutely right, and I have agonized over failing people, because it needs, like, if you're failing somebody, you're saying, okay, well, this mentee then doesn't get an amount of money that they may need or may have
I've been counting on, yeah.
Right, it can be catastrophic. And I haven't had a situation where I wasn't sort of, there was one case where it was close, where it was like, okay, well, and I brought it up to the CNCF leadership, and they're like, given what we're seeing here, yeah, it's a close call, but we have to defer to the maintainers.
Yeah.
And I know this only happened once in the 3 years that I've been sort of doing this, so I'm not so concerned about the.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I actually, because maintainers are all over the spectrum, right, in terms of their sort of orientation towards this thing, the level of experience. One of the other things is we can front load this with the maintainers, because I mean, like, my attitude for doing these is, even if the mentee did not accomplish the original goals of the project, if they did something, pass them, right? Because a good portion of the time, the original project turns out to be harder than the mentor thought it was, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we should only be failing people if they flaked out.
Yes.
Right. If they were no-shows.
Yeah.
Or if they seriously misrepresented their skill level.
Yeah. And that's in some cases what I've had conversations with mentors whenever they come back to me with a failing. It's like I reach out to the mentors and say, okay, I see that the amount of work is not, but have the mentees been tried? Is there something that could be done to salvage the relationship? If for instance, this has happened, a mentee was chosen, they didn't really have the skill set that they needed in order to do the work, and so when it came to the midterm, the mentor was like, well, like they literally can't do this work. And so I pushed back and said, is there a way that you could help them to upskill so that by the time that they're at the end of this, they've got
right.
Steps
and this is
and
this is part of where you're up against the deficiencies in the LFX system, right?
Yes.
In a future system, which is better engineered, you would have fewer recruitments of mentees who were insufficiently skilled.
Yeah.
Because, for example, one of the things that's in the GOC program is you can actually require mentees to, for example, write a sample patch.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and one of the things
which is not something you can do in LFX.
No, and a lot of, I think Wasm Edge has done a really good job with their upstream issues. And when they're making their selection, they say to their candidates, fork this repo.
Right.
Follow these instructions, do this thing, and then come back to this upstream issue and
Yeah.
show us what you've done.
Yeah.
And that becomes the candidate pool. And so they, and I'm trying to convince other folks to go through that type of process, because it's a good one that really does show, but it's labor intensive.
Right, and that's the problem is, and one of the things you have to understand is that a lot of mentors are not, they're not people managers in their day job,
Exactly.
right? Right, these are actually hard skills to learn. I can tell you from having learned them the hard way, having learned them by failing multiple times. In that way, it's an education for mentors too, particularly ones who are thinking about joining management.
And this is one of the things
which is something. But what I was suggesting is we literally can front load this, right? As in, when we send the instructions to mentors at the beginning of the program or when they're submitting their projects, we can specifically say, here are the reasons why you fail someone, right? You fail someone because they were no-shows. You fail someone because they misrepresented their skills.
Yeah.
And are not skilled enough to complete the project for that reason.
Yeah.
You don't fail somebody because they ran into unexpected problems and were unable to actually meet the RAC, even though they put in 80 hours of work.
Yeah.
Right. We're not contracting here, basically.
Yeah, it's a learning.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a mentee, not a contractor.
Yeah.
And if we give that to mentors at the outset, it will cut down on the number of problematic failures that we have.
Yeah. Well,
we're still going to get them, right? Because I can tell you from having been the mentor who was interviewing mentees, a lot of the ones I was interviewing were misrepresenting their skills.
Yeah.
Because they really, really wanted that mentorship, and they thought by pumping up their CV they could get it.
And it turned out, but then,
and I can't even blame them for doing that, because I will tell you, on the actual job market, that is a thing you do.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of jobs have really inflated requirements, right? And you know, for a lot of mentees, I'm pretty flexible for that, because I'm willing to look at it and say, hey, okay, this person doesn't have exactly the skills we're looking for, but how quickly could they learn them?
Yeah.
Right? Because learning ability and flexibility can be more important than what skills you already have.
Yeah.
Because almost inevitably you can be throwing something at them they've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, and I appreciate the perspective, because that actually sort of brings me back to, it's a learning program. The goals are to grow the community.
Yeah.
Right. And so bringing somebody in who is enthusiastic and is willing to learn, that's the more important.
Yeah.
That's the more important thing. So but on the other side, I think you've already sort of said it, almost sort of dismissed it as a concern, and that is, if somebody is not doing any work, and we can see that, and the mentor still passes them, that's where I'm wondering if we have a problem or not. And I don't think
we do have a problem, but that problem should be taken up with the mentor and the mentoring organization.
Right,
because what most likely happened in that respect was the mentor flaked out. Right. They felt guilty about it, and they passed the student anyway to not create a problem.
Right. Okay. Well, and that's the other thing. If the mentor flakes out, and this is the last time a mentor really flaked out, what we wound up doing was paying the mentee their first stipend, and then saying, "Okay, we're sorry that this happened, but we're not going to continue because we don't have a mentor for you. Yeah. So you're not going to get the second stipend, but
you don't have to do the work either." Yeah.
But you can now reapply. Like we took away the because normally you can only apply and get accepted once, yeah. Right? But we said, look, because this happened, if you apply again, you can get accepted again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a sort of
Yeah.
a one-time sort of issue.
Um,
Because I agree, like if it's a mentor, I don't want to punish the mentee.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, if we're looking at that, then it's time to take it up with the mentor and the mentoring organization and say, hey, what happened here and this sort of thing. You know, we need to be realistic about your ability to actually mentor. And you need to be, because I mean, here's the thing. Sometimes stuff comes up unexpectedly and the mentor can't complete their thing. And the thing to do with that is to bring it up with their organization lead or with you promptly so that we can actually do something about it, right? But I mean, it's going to happen, right? And you know, that's once again not a contract, right? You know, I actually am going to have to drop in 5 minutes. Speaking of things coming up, and I did want to bring up one other thing since we're finishing up LFX.
Yep.
About the blog posts.
Yes.
Right. LFX mentees have no idea how to write a blog post about their assignment.
Yep.
We need to give them strong templates because here's what I repeatedly see for the ones that get submitted for Kubernetes and etcd and that sort of thing. They write like 3 pages about the LFX program and 1 paragraph about what they actually did.
Yeah.
And they need to know what we want is a blog about what they actually did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because one of the other problems that we have is we have a limited window to edit these blog posts because the mentee writes the blog post and we get into a couple rounds of editing and now it's like 2 months after the end of the mentorship and they vanish on us. Usually because they're starting a new term at school.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, this is why this is part of the reason that I have a week at the end of the semester. Sorry, I got some noise in here. So the evaluations are due at week 11, and the term ends at the end of week 12. And people have pushed back on me and said, why we need 12 weeks? And I'm like, well, there's the administration that has to happen in that last week, and we don't want to push it into at any rate. But part of it is that gives the mentee time to wrap up and write that post.
Right. Yeah.
A week.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, by the time one of those comes to the Kubernetes blog, it needs to be in good enough shape that somebody in the Kubernetes project can just do a copy edit and then publish it.
Yeah, I agree.
And historically that hasn't happened. Historically, there's been just most of the content has been missing.
Yeah, I agree.
And we can't do anything with it. We end up not publishing the blog post.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I like that. I'm still hesitant to require it, but I'm not sure that we have to tell folks that it's not required, right? So what I'd like to
I don't see what's wrong with requiring a blog post. I mean, one thing we might discuss is the alternative of allowing the mentee to do a video.
That could be good too.
But again, the video needs to contain certain things. They need to have an instruction sheet about what's going to be in the video.
And the reason that I'm hesitant to require a blog post is because the implication is if they don't do it, they then fail and don't get that stipend, even if they have done spectacular work on the actual project, right? So again, it's that sort of the fairness where these folks are getting brought on to learn about how to develop, but if we say that it's a part of the learning process, hey, doing a development log, this is part and parcel, as a part of the.
But here's the thing: is you can require it, and then provide an avenue for people to be excused.
That's a good point too.
Right? You can say the blog post is an expected part of the program.
Yeah.
And like I said, given how I'm dealing a lot with folks who are in their 20s right now, I do think that we might make that more likely to get completed if we also offered a video avenue.
Yeah.
The difficulty being obviously video is much more time consuming to edit.
Yeah.
And not all of the projects have any way to publish videos.
This is true too. Yeah.
Like Kubernetes does, but I don't know about other projects.
Yeah.
And for that matter, emphasize the value to the mentees, right? Is that part of the idea of this mentorship is to also build their street cred for
Mhm.
open source,
Yes.
and having that public blog post
Mhm.
is definitely part of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we put it to them in those terms, a lot of them should be enthusiastic about it, because an awful lot of them are doing this internship because they're looking for a job later on.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's part of the goal, right?
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I'm going to need to drop.
You got it up. In that case, thank you for joining, and Vasil, thank you for coming. I'm going to call this a meeting complete, and I hope you both enjoy the rest of your day.
Cool. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. See you.
Bye.